Come with me. This is what I rented. Look at that. 2005 Harley Davidson Ultra Glide. So before I go any further, I probably should correct that. It was a 2005 Electra Glide Ultra Classic. I guess there's a difference, although I wouldn't know the difference. So you might ask, Rich, why did you rent a Harley Davidson? Well, the truth be told, I couldn't get the Goldwing that I wanted. And honestly, I've always wanted to spend a day or some time with a Harley Davidson touring bike. So when Sharon and I decided to fly out to Arizona to visit some of my relatives, I thought, well, this would be a good time to try out rideshare, combine a little business with pleasure, spend a day or two with Carl riding in Arizona, and maybe even get the girls to go along. If you'd like to see my review of the Riders Share rental service, I'll put a card up here in the right-hand corner of your screen. You can click on that and watch that video as well. But getting back to my choice of the 2005 Harley, when I couldn't get the Goldwing, I looked on Riders Share and saw this and thought it would be the second most comfortable bike for the two-up touring that we expected to do for a day or two. Now I'd be lying if I didn't admit that the look of the bike really attracted me as well. It's a very, very good-looking bike, and the particular color that of this rental unit was really, really nice. We wanted to get out of the Phoenix area Thursday morning because it was supposed to be 96 degrees fairly early on. So we got over to pick the bike up, and by the time we got on the bike, it was already in the 90s. We followed Carl and Helen out 101 and ended up on Route 87, and we headed north towards Payson. I've done this ride before when I came back from Arizona in 2019. And there's a variety of terrain, flat and also hilly and curvy. It's really a pretty ride. Now, to get this review of the Harley Davidson going, I have to tell you that I am really of two minds on this. The first 3/4 of the first day, I have to be honest, I wasn't very happy with this motorcycle. But once we left Payson, we dropped our items, so we dropped our luggage off at the motel, and we are Payson at the Majestic Mountain Inn. Carl wants to say something, I'm sure.
We're going to be heading to Strawberry Pine. Nice ride. And then hopefully we'll have time to come back and go up to Heber, Overguard, which is a gorgeous ride up the hill. It'll be a little cooler there, so we'll be nice and cool when we come back. And we have a steakhouse right next door here. Perfect location.
There you go.
And a gas station.
And a gas station. Yeah. So why wasn't I happy with this motorcycle the first part of this trip? Well, there are a few reasons. The first is that within probably 45 minutes to an hour of getting on what looked like a very plush and comfortable seat, I realized that it wasn't by a long shot. There were too many hot spots. It just plain hurt my ass. The other thing is the seating position on this particular bike. I was kind of tilted back. I think if there had been a driver's backrest, I would have had a different experience. But with no driver's backrest, it was just the angle of my feet and legs and my back just kind of didn't work. Now, in all fairness, those are things that you can get used to. Those are things that you can modify. I know a lot of guys, most guys get different seats for their Harley Davidsons. I see a lot of them with driver's backrests. So all of that, I realize is just, that's rider preference. The other thing that I wasn't happy with was the power. I think this bike has like about 68 horsepower, which I'm used to on my Intruder. That's about what I have on my Suzuki Intruder 1500. But this bike had 2 people on it. It had full luggage on it, a fairing on it, and I think that I was very frustrated. I was very frustrated that with downshifts, multiple downshifts going up the hills, and the fact that I couldn't maintain what I considered to be a reasonable speed. In addition to that, I found that when I put my feet down, if I moved an inch, I'd have the passenger floorboards in the back of my calves. And I realize that that's something that you get used to once you ride a bike for an extended period of time. And honestly, by the time I returned the bike the next day, I knew to keep my feet out. But I thought it was unnecessary and really kind of poorly designed. The other thing that was a problem were the crash bars for the saddlebags. Sharon said that when she was sitting there and had her feet on the passenger floorboards, those crash bars would be right in the back of her calf, putting pressure on them, and it got to the point where it hurt a little bit. The other thing is, she said that she had to turn her feet out to keep her toes from hitting me in the back of my legs. So I think I'm not really sure whether it's space, design flaw. I'm not really sure what it was. But again, all of those things I'm sure that you can get used to on kind of any bike, those little bike idiosyncrasies. So how is it that I'm of 2 minds about this bike, that I had a different opinion come the afternoon than I did in the morning? Well, to tell you the truth, I really had to think about that for a while because I wasn't really sure. The thing that I like the most about a Harley Davidson, as I've said, is the sound. I just love the sound. But in the morning, well, really kind of most of the day, the sound wasn't the same while riding the bike as you hear riding next to the bike. On the bike, you hear absolutely everything. And there are times when, and I think it was because of the heat, the bike just didn't sound healthy to me. Now listen, it never skipped a beat. Now, not knowing the bike, I'll say that since it ran like a top, I'm sure there wasn't anything wrong. It just sounded very different riding on it than it did riding next to it. And then again, maybe it was just riding a different bike. You know how you get used to the sounds of your own bike? Maybe it was just one of those things. But here's what I want to say. At some point, my opinion changed. And as I said, I had a tough time figuring out why that was, but here's what I've come up with. The early part of the first day, I was trying to ride the bike, and I was comparing the bike to a Goldwing. And honestly, guys, you can't compare that Harley Davidson. I'm not sure that you can compare any Harley Davidson to a Goldwing. It's just the way it is. But, and this is a big but, just like mine. But here's the thing. I don't think you can compare a Goldwing to a Harley Davidson. They do things differently. And once I think I accepted the idea that the Harley Davidson wasn't a Goldwing and that I needed to ride it for what it was, a Harley Davidson, a couple of things happened. I noticed that my riding slowed down, kind of out of necessity, but I started to kind of, get that, I think that relaxed cruiser ride thing rather than the high-speed touring thing that you get on, or that I get out of my Goldwing. I don't know if everybody gets that, but that's what I love about my Goldwing. The sweet spot on the Goldwing is between 80 and 90 miles an hour. The sweet spot on this Harley Davidson was between 65 and 75 miles an hour. And that's how I rode it in the afternoon and all of the next day. I rode it within its capabilities, what it was meant for, a more relaxed, laid back riding style. And you know what? I liked it. I really liked it. Now, the seat was still a problem. The riding position was still a problem. But as I said, I think all of those things can be addressed. I mean, the number of Harley Davidson riders out there with all the different shapes and sizes and all the stuff that they make for these bikes, I'm sure that bike can be made to be very, very comfortable. But I can see where if I owned a Harley Davidson like this, and I've been thinking about buying something of this vintage, which is why kind of one of the reasons that I rented this bike. But I can say that if I were to buy something like this, I don't know that I would ever take this on an interstate. I think that this is basically kind of a back roads, off the beaten path, nice cruising, touring motorcycle. And I guess that's my take on it. If you're content, well, I won't even say that. I'll say it this way. I think this bike would probably make me content to ride a bit slower, to maybe take more things in while I'm riding, only because you have the time to do that. Overall, I have to say that this was a solid motorcycle. It operated well, everything functioned, and other than the individualized, personalized stuff like seating position and things like that, I think it was a solid motorcycle. Really, I could get used to riding one of these, but you can't. I was confused. This is not going to be a Goldwing ever. And once I got used to that idea and recognized this bike for what it is, a very pleasurable ride. I'll have to say that. The sound is very soothing. And overall, it was a pretty nice experience once I had a change of mindset. It makes me think that it might be worth riding a newer Harley Davidson with a little bit more power. That's pretty much this Goldwing owner's take on the Electra Glide Ultra Classic 2005 that I rented. I think it's pretty representative of this vintage Harley Davidson. And I will say that overall, I give it a thumbs up. Folks, if you got anything out of this video, maybe not even out of me and my opinion of a Harley Davidson, but the actual video of the pretty Arizona scenery, maybe you'd consider giving me a thumbs up, like, and subscribing to my channel, get notifications. You know how to do all that stuff. Probably 70-75% of the people who watch my videos do not subscribe. That's okay. You do it your way. But if you find yourself so inclined, click that button. That's it for right now from Have Moto Will Travel and Motorcycle Confessions. Thanks for the view. Over and out.